Yo, what's up, guys? Yeah, Pokeaim here. As you read from the title, Magearna and Cinderace are now quick banned from Pokemon Sword and Shield OU. Now, guys, let me know your thoughts on that before we even get into this. And also, if y'all didn't know, I got an apron available. My Just Little Taste apron. Also got hoodies and shirts, and that's available until the 24th. The 24th is the last day, this Wednesday, to pick it up. I'm also hoping that we get some Pokemon information on that day, too. But let's, before we read this entire thing, let's actually just go right to the bottom where it says, finally, the Sword and Shield OU Council came to this conclusion on Magearna and Cinderace due to the survey's response in favor of banning both. The general player base favored a ban on both. Players who achieved a high ladder ranking or participated in tournaments felt this way strongly about both Magearna and Cinderace, having virtually the same level of support for each, who absolutely reevaluate how these Pokemon move forward, or how these two Pokemon moving forward. And I say Pokemon because I don't think they should reevaluate Magearna. And Cinderace in particular is likely to be retested due to it receiving slightly less support than Magearna. We are open to retesting these two Pokemon in the future, as well as other Pokemon that have been included in prior surveys too. The OU Council will keep or make sure to keep an open mind moving forward so we can do what is best for the metagame. So I'm actually just going to look at the results real quick. Magearna, pretty unanimous. The majority of people thought it was a 4 or 5, obviously being 5 being the most broken, 4 being, just under it. So, I mean, I think everybody thought Mag was busted. And before we even, read their decisioning, but its ability to basically beat all of its counters. Heat Tread, Specs Focus Blast is 89 to 105 or something like that. And then the Combine variants just get Weakness Policy and Beatable Aura Sphere or Stored Power, respectively, depending. And if it's Lava Plume, it's not strong enough. If it's Magma Storm, it can miss. Obviously, Stored Power, Weakness Policy can beat Volcarona, and we've done it plenty of times on this channel. And obviously the Draining Kiss and the addition of Stored Power in general were just huge for it. And then of course Specs plus Trick being able to break. So I think Mag was the one that most people felt needed to be banned anyway, and that's fine. The last time during Isle of Armor, they, or right before Isle of Armor, or whatever it was, they suspected Magearna for whatever reason, and quick banned Cinderace with the decision. I felt that at the time it should have been flipped. Cinderace should have been suspected at the time, and Magearna should have been quick banned. But now they quick ban both. However, in terms of the Cinderace responses, it's actually not as overwhelming as you would assume based on what they say. They did say that Magearna was higher. Yeah, it was. It definitely was higher. But, I mean, a 3 or 4 being the majority, where the 5 is almost as much as the 2, I don't think this warranted a quick ban, personally. I think at least give us a suspect, even if it's just a formality. Even suspect tests just mean that the Pokemon is going to get banned anyway, which for the most part for offensive Pokemon it does. I don't think that this warranted that in particular. I don't think so. Yeah, it was slightly towards the 4, but even then, the 3 is really close. 26% versus 36%. And then the 2 and the 5 are really close too. So I think that this mon should have been suspect tested. Of course, they did say that they will reevaluate them too later. I don't think there's a point in really evaluating Magearna. It's basically like why do they allow Genesect every time? If it's clearly broken. But whatever. Let's read what they had to say about Magearna and Cinderace. And let me know your thoughts on that as well, guys. You don't have to be okay with what OU does. And you can agree, you don't have to agree. Shoot, I want Darmanitan to be played, but the general player base definitely does not. But do I care? And am I going to hold my opinion in? No. Also, it's hilarious that Tornadus, this is basically exactly what I thought of Torn. This would be the lowest. But yeah, nobody thought it was broken. And again, I think the wording for Teleport was wrong too, because it talked about it being broken. But anyway, Magearna has returned to its DLC 1 levels of glory as DLC 2 metagame developed. Magearna's superb move pool and practical typing allow for it to make use of many different variants that are effective in the metagame. It is one of the most potent win conditions in the metagame. Magearna can also pose as a threatening breaker, offensive pivot, and even as a utility Pokemon depending upon the team. While being versatile alone is not enough to warrant a ban, what Magearna can do with its versatility is what pushes it over the top. There are very few Pokemon that can consistently check it without incurring large levels of risk. I mean, I actually don't even think there's any Pokemon that can consistently check it without risks, period. Like I mentioned, okay, she fell asleep on the... Okay, cool. Because Puka has been walking back and forth, and I thought she was going to sleep on my lap during the middle of the recording, because she usually does. But She went back to the bed. Choice Specs Magearna is arguably the most consistent variant of Magearna. I disagree. I disagree completely. 130 base special attack makes it one of the strongest special attackers in OU, which goes a long way. Wait, hold up. Can you guys read this while I'm reading it? Let me for my 24 to my 25 to 34 demographic. Let me put it like you have it on your phones. Is that better for you? I don't know why I made that joke. I'm tired. I just woke up. Choice Specs Magearna, blah blah. With a long way when paired with strong stab moves like Flare Cannon and a slew of complementary moves. In terms of the other attacking options, Flash Cannon is oftentimes utilized as another stab option. In addition, Focus Blast is a strong coverage option used to devastate steel types like Heatran, Excadrill, and Ferrothorn. Finally, Vulture is a staple on this set to generate momentum and threaten waters like Toxapex. While it is true that a handful of Pokemon can check it and many options can win the 1v1 versus it, in practice, Choice Specs Magearna can quickly grow problematic, be it through boosted Volt Switches wearing out would-be checks like Toxapex and Slowking, or through timely tricks neutralizing special walls like Blissey and Heatran. Choice Specs Magearna is one of the best Pokemon at forcing progress each time it enters the battles. And like I said, and this is how I felt before as well. Like, people always thought that Choice Specs was the best, but I mean, back then we were using like Amoonguss and stuff, so of course we're gonna take advantage of clicking Flash Cannon and stuff. But like between freaking Melmetal now, which I'm glad is around, and a whole bunch of others, I don't think Specs is as deadly as it is, as it once was. Not to mention that one in particular relies on hitting Focus Blast, and Aura is just so weak on Specs. Thanks to the Steel Fairy typing and 80, 115, 115 bulk, getting in safely is not a problem for Magearna either. While we recognize the Pokemon like Assault Vest, Slowking, exactly, and a bulky Volcarona are able to minimize the effectiveness of Choice Specs Magearna, they still allow for free Volt Switches into more threatening teammates. This makes Choice Specs Magearna a suffocating presence, as even in matchups where it's not necessarily going to be breaking force and game plans, it is still seen as a major catalyst. This set alone is very challenging to manage, and the team better restricting how defensive cores are constructed a great deal. However, there are various other variants of Magearna that are potential to be even more problematic on a game-to-game basis. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Give my man, I don't know, my man or whatever you call Magearna, give them the respect they deserve on these boosting sets. Magearna has a plethora of different setup variants. It has access to boosting moves such as Shift Gear, Calm Mind, and even Iron Defense that give it a variety of options. And honestly, guys, I think the Shift Gear, Calm Mind set is just the most broken. Like, for a while, I think Iron Defense, Calm Mind is really good with Draining Kiss plus Store Power, but Shift Gear, Calm Mind just only needs a Store Power and Aura Sphere, and it just wins so many games back to back to back. In conjunction with the abundance of coverage options it has and the great offensive and defensive stats, this can make Magearna extremely frustrating to deal with. The most common boosting variant takes advantage of Store Power, which gives Magearna great snowballing potential when paired with Weakness Policy, screens, its ability in So Hard, or even ordinary free turns to set up and increasing its strength. It can also make use of coverage moves such as Aura Sphere, hitting Steel types, or Stab, Recovery, Move, Draining Kiss. This set may struggle with Haze, Toxapex, Taunt Heatran, or excessive often offensive pressures, but very few Pokemon can withstand a Magearna with the right support or some free turns, making it a huge problem on offensive teams. And even like Pex has to recover eventually, and like you just hit Heatran or Sphere when you come in, so, and you're not missing like your Focus Blast with the other one. On top of this, other boosting sets are also commonly making use of the plethora of strong special attacking options Magearna has. We already mentioned Flare Cannon hitting hard with Stab, which you can do boosting sets with Calm Mind, especially Thunderbolt or Electro Ball when paired with Shift Gear, Ice Beam, Focus Blast, and other coverage. And this is like, these are other stuff that Magearna runs, but not as often. Honestly, I find it better when they run this Bolt Beam, Focus Blast coverage, because they're not going to sweep me if I hit them with a fire move. Boosting sets too. Magearna also can use a variety of items ranging from the aforementioned Weakness Policy to potential resist berries that allow it for a handpick its own checks and counters. Yep, exactly. And of course, there's also Choice Scarf for Magearna too. They didn't mention it, but I'm just adding on to the fact that this mon is so versatile. The built-in versatility allows for Magearna to fit on many teams and can be dangerous in so many different situations. Having the ability to pick its own counterplay creates a very unhealthy and restricting dynamic, oftentimes making teams spend multiple slots on ensuring they're okay against each possible Magearna set. And even then, like I said, the Calm Mind Weakness Policy set can beat all of its counters. That's just like, especially before, and if it's Draining Kiss, it'd even beat like a Blissey 1v1 too. Unless it's like Thunder Wave and gets really lucky. But overall, Magearna is arguably the best Pokemon in the metagame. There may be some counterplay present, but it is very limited and varies greatly depending upon the set it's using. Magearna imposes restrictions on team building due to how impressive the Choice Spec set is and how versatile it is overall with the boosting variants. If you prepare for it sufficiently, there is a possibility that it will continue to give you issues due to how effective the Choice Specs variant is at forcing progress, wearing down defensive cores, and crippling opposing Pokemon. Magearna is a Pokemon that fits on the almost every archetype and oftentimes is able to carry its own weight and far more. The consequences of its unmatched strength and versatility on the metagame are undesirable, causing team building to be very challenging to approach and gameplay to be very limited. We have elected to ban Magearna from Sword and Shield OU for these reasons. Again, I've clearly stated how I feel about Magearna since Magearna's been around. It's broken. It's a win con. It wins as many times as it wants. That's Magearna. Honestly, I would have banned this thing before Spectre, personally, but whatever. Now, Cinderace, like I said, I've always been on the fence about, and same reasons why I talked about in the survey. I think it's great. It's limited to heavy-duty boots, though. They talk about a whole bunch of different sets, like Electro Ball and blah, 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 but I will read it, obviously. But the main thing we're going to think about is High Jump Kick, Gunk Shot, Pyro Ball, and then U-Turn, right? And then maybe a Sucker Punch when Spectre was around, and then you could throw in your Zen Hubba, which is trash, honestly, in my opinion. I'd rather use Future Sight plus like teleport stuff, or you can use both, so you can actually KO Pex upon switching. But if you hit Pex with a Pyro Ball as they come in on a Future Sight, you can Pyro Ball after anyway, knock them out. And they're forced to switch, so you can Gunk Shot and switch and hit something else. But again, like my main thing about Cinderace is that it doesn't have one set that will consistently beat everything, or that can beat all of its counters like Magearna does, which is the Shift Gear Combine set. And it misses all its moves. So I think this Mon would have been better, especially just like I said, based on the response. The response was not overwhelming. Like again, 5 being broken, need to be banned, 1 being not broken, and with this, again, it's closer. It's closer to 4-5. Like if you had them get it, obviously it's closer to 4-5. But still, it's so close. Like it's so 26% versus 36%. It's just so close. Anyway. I thought Assessment Test was better for it, even if it's just a formality. Cinderace has proven to be one of the best Pokemon once again, returning to the metagame after being quick banned and kept banned after retest in the prior DLC 1 metagame. Much like last time around, Cinderace's ability to take advantage of Libero as an offensive pivot and breaker is too much for the Sword and Shield OU metagame to handle. I am, however, and I'll talk about it towards the end, like what Mons get better just really quickly, but I am excited to see what actually works. I think that when Pokemon get banned, people automatically assume, oh my god, Stall gets better. A lot of offense. I guess I'll talk about it right now before we even get into the other half of the video, since this is the time where some of the retention just starts to leave. So bye John, and bye all you guys that watch. But one offensive mon that automatically is better is definitely Rillaboom, right? It lost 2 offensive checks, and then there's also Pokemon like Bisharp and Weavile, which get better. Magearna is very limiting for a lot of dark types in the tier. I also think Obstagoon gets better too. I think Obstagoon is a very good Pokemon, period. Swords Dance Kartana looks really good right now. It's one of the Pokemon that can break through those Hippowdon, Toxapex, Blissey, Corviknight cores. And I named Corviknight on that too because if it's SD Life Orb Sacred Sword or plus knockoff or whatever, it'll break Corviknight anyway. Corviknight has to Iron Defense and Sacred Sword goes through it. So as long as if it SD's plus Life Orb, it will beat an Iron Defense Corviknight 1v1. Even though Body Press will do a good chunk, you'll still knock out Corviknight, which opens up a lot of things like Excadrill and stuff like that. Latios gets a lot better as well. Can Draco more freely, but more importantly, can Psychic more freely. Manabuzz and the birds get better too, which is actually really important too. And the reason I mentioned Manabuzz and the birds is because Zapdos and Manabuzz and Moltres are Pokemon that could have taken down physically offensive variants of them, of course, can take down Cinderace in certain situations. But if Manabuzz gets poisoned by, and we're probably going to read about that on this Cinderace thing too, but if Manabuzz gets poisoned by Gunk Shot, then it becomes significantly harder to it becomes significantly harder to actually check Cinderace. And same thing with Moltres. If Moltres gets poisoned by Gunk Shot, can get 2 KO, especially because it's getting knocked off and whatnot. And obviously, Zapdos has to repeatedly roost. I think Lele is one of my favorite mons that gets better as well. Just not that Specs Lele, like not that Magearna really checked it. It barely checked it, if anything. It was a very loose check. But it gets better in that scenario too. Just being able to click Psychic and Moonblast more freely. And then there's a plethora of other Pokemon too. But Melmeto's another one as well. So I'm excited to see how that mon comes back out. But yeah, and obviously Ghost types as well. Pokemon with that decent speed tier, but we're still slower than mons like Cinderace, like Gengar. I think Gengar has some chance to be good now, and obviously Dragapult is going to get better too. I suppose Clef in that sense as well, but I think we have a lot of Clef killers right now. Honestly, I don't think Clef is at all where it was before. And I even think that Toxapex isn't as where it was before either. But we'll have to see how these Pokemon come out and what's going to happen. A lot of birds I think we're going to see in OU, and I think we're going to see a lot of Torn as well. The primary set, oh, Torn is a big bird. The primary set is largely the same too. Running Power Ball has a strong attack, and U-turn to frequently pivot around. However, the other coverage options has varied. Zen Headbutt is used less often currently, as Cinderace is often paired with Future Sight plus Teleport. Yep. Spike or some other member to help abuse Toxapex after a U-turn. In this slot, we're seeing a lot of high jump kick or low kick, letting you destroy opposing Heatran and Tyranitar. Gunk Shot is also a common option, giving you the ability to easily break through Clefable and Tapu Fini, while also fishing for a poison against potential checks like Mana Buzz, Hippowdon, and Zapdos. Sucker Punch is also viable to punish faster Pokemon such as Dragapult, which otherwise function as soft offensive checks to Cinderace when healthy. Finally, on teams at Tapu Koko, Electro Ball is also a strong option, being able to demolish opposing Slowbro and Toxapex that otherwise would help check Cinderace. Perhaps the main downside of Cinderace's moves are they are inaccurate. I don't know why I said it like that. Gunk Shot, Pyro Ball is a hell of like a miss, and it's especially problematic seeing Cinderace is relatively fragile. In addition, High Jump Kick can miss as well, coming alongside a costly secondary effect of losing half of its health. However, when those moves connect, Cinderace is very challenging to keep in check. Yep. Cinderace has virtually no hard counters in the metagame, with a handful of Pokemon entering the territory only if Cinderace is lacking specific coverage. There's Heatran if there is no fishing move, or Toxapex if there is no Zen Headbutt, Electro Ball, Future Sight support. Isn't this Pokemon that check it sometimes are subject to getting trapped in the vortex of U-turn and Volt Switch, oftentimes being stable Cinderace cores on balance and heavy, bulky teams. I think trapped is a little bit of a strong word when it comes to that. Like, my Slowbro coming in and taking 40% and then switching out and then coming back and having regenerated isn't trapped in a sense. And especially, I mean, if Hazard's up, sure. If I'm Boots, whatever. And if I'm Rocky Helmet, then you at least taking damage too. These cores and Cinderace in particular are bolstered greatly by the item Cinderace's frequents, Heavy Duty Boots. Heavy Duty Boots allows for Cinderace to be more accessible than a Pokemon with its defensive stats would ever be otherwise. It pivots infrequently and is able to make most of each opportunity is granted thanks to the aforementioned coverage and Libero. Without being chipped by Stealth Rock, teams are oftentimes running to items like Rocky Helmet, moves like Baneful Bunker or Toxic, or abilities like Rough Skin, Flame Body, or Static that can potentially punish the hit and run Rabbit while it attempts to run amok. Cinderace's often offensive profile is unique to a metagame, having a handful of would-be defensive answers taken out of commission in practice due to the implications of it being such as devastating offensive pivot. Prime examples of this is the interaction between Cinderace and Slowbro. Slowbro is also able to avoid a 2-hit KO and deal strong damage in return with the chance of landing Skullburn, but U-turn is able to out-damage Regenerator, causing non-Rocky Helmet variants to end up in negative sequences frequently. But again, I don't think it's as cookie cutter as that. Other Pokemon like Hippowdon, I mean, you could argue the same thing with Urshifu then, right? Because Urshifu just comes in and clicks U-turn. Obviously, I'm not comparing Urshifu to Cinderace, but like beating Slowbro and stuff, like, you could be on both sides of it. Other Pokemon like Hippowdon and Mana Buzz can easily 1v1 Cinderace as well, but after U-turn 2, they were suddenly being put in range of 2-hit KO, as Cinderace's cores are oftentimes able to suffocate the opponent. This leaves a primary counterplay to healthy defensive Leonard's T and Garchomp, as well as Toxapex when Cinderace is not packing the right coverage or paired with Future Sight. Overall, Cinderace is a very threatening offensive presence that restricts the way we construct our teams a great deal. Very few Pokemon can minimize the effect its effect on games, and team packing normal checks oftentimes get run over in the long haul thanks to how accessible Cinderace can be with Heavy Duty Boots and U-turn. Damn, it just sounds like anybody with Cinderace straight up wins. We know that's not the case, but Cinderace's superb coverage allows for it to break through many opposing Pokemon with the liberal boots as well, making it very challenging to keep it in check at all. We have elected to ban Cinderace and Sword and Shield OU for these reasons. Now, like I said, I agree with the Mag quick ban. I disagree with the Cinderace quick ban. Again, even if a suspicious test would have been a formality, I still feel like it was at least, warranted for this Pokemon, especially with just how close everything is in terms of individual value, not versus combined value. But it was still, a mon that I think would have been banned eventually. But still, I don't know. I felt like Cinderace wasn't as crazy as it was in Olive Armor. Even in Olive Armor, I wasn't feeling like as crazy. We have way more Pokemon now that could deal with it. But even in Olive Armor, I wasn't feeling like it was this outrageous one. But I know in tournaments and during Olive Armor is when it actually was going crazy too. But again, just to say how I feel, Magearna deserved, right? Should have been quick ban a while back. I think with even when Zygarde and Kieran Black and whatever were around, man, it was just even easier to win with that Pokemon because they were just activating your weakness policy, at least in Zygarde's response, or paralyzing you, and that's another mon. Speaking of Zygarde, I think it's really funny to see the graphs. So unbanning Zamazenta, the majority feels it's okay, but again, not necessarily. Again, these are super close. These are super close. Thank you for those who said they want their Manton unbanned. A lot of people said no. But hey, you know what? We got a good percentage over here as well. And then Zygarde, literally nobody wants it unbanned. I don't think anybody wants to play in a metagame where the wins are just based on glare. Please know that just because these Pokemon were not grouped with Cinderace and Magearna at the top does not mean they are being ignored in the present or future. The metagame will continue to evolve. There will also be surveys in the future, and we will continue to keep a close eye on the metagame as it develops. If you also have any questions on the graphs or response in general, feel free to shoot me a PM anytime. This is Finch, that's at that. But yeah. Overall, guys, what are your thoughts? Do you think OU is going to get better? Do you think OU is going to get worse? Yeah, some defensive Pokemon get better, but a lot of offensive Pokemon that were once limited, Bisharp, Weavile, and those mons are crazy with SDs, are definitely back. Lele, offensively, looks way better as well, and doesn't care about nothing. Don't care about these damn birds. But, yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.